Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the 46th episode of Half Century of Collecting Sports Cards. We're going to go back to my favorite 400 series. Again, today, these are the cards that we showed last, and we are now at number 372, and that is going to be a Cracker Jack card, which I think is one of the coolest sets ever, and it is a Hall of Fame catcher, Ray Schulk. Spent most of his career with the Chicago White Sox, was an outstanding defensive catcher, not so much of an offensive catcher. In fact, he's got the lowest career batting average of anybody in the Hall of Fame who's not a pitcher, with a 253 lifetime average, and he only hit 11 career home runs, though much of that was in the dead ball era. He did have a decent on-base percentage, though, 340. And like I said, a really good defender, had 18 career defensive WAR, but only 33 total defensive WAR. He was one of the Clean Sox from that 1919 team that threw the World Series. He thought he knew something was up when a couple of his pitchers, Eddie Seacott, Smokey Joe Williams, were throwing different pitches than what he called. But cool card. And this is a 1914 Cracker Jack. Cracker Jack made cards in 14 and 15. You can tell it's a 14 because as you flip it over, it's in the same direction as the front. The 15s are the opposite direction. Until they say that they made 10 million of these, but the 14s are probably about 4 times as rare as the 15s by Pop Reports. Not real sure if they're really 10 million that were made, but not that many survived, partly because it was over 100 years ago, so a lot of them got thrown out, but also partly because it came in a sticky candy, Cracker Jacks, after years of cards being put in tobacco products. So cool, Cracker Jack, Ray Schulk. And I just also want to throw out there that just got this Mile High auction catalog, and there's probably the most famous Cracker Jack, or one of the coolest Cracker Jack cards, Joe Jackson, that is up for auction. Just came out now as we are finishing on the last day tonight of the REA big auction. Next on my list, we got the rookie card of a Hall of Fame pitcher. Ended up being a congressman, also from Kentucky, the only Hall of Famer who also was a senator. And we're not talking about the team in Washington, but actually serving. He played 17 years, won 224 games in his career, but only 1 year, this 57 season, did he win 20. He won 19 4 different times. He led the league in strikeouts 3 times, also led the league in hit by pitches 4 times, and he had a career 3.27 ERA, so good ERA. I happen to have a old Sporting News. This is towards the end of his career when he got traded to the Pirates, and the players are kind of talking about hoping that he's going to bring him a lot of good stuff, but he didn't have a whole lot of good left in his arm after getting traded to the Pirates. There you can see his family, big family. So Jim Bunning there in his 57 rookie card. Pretty cool card. All right, next on the list, we got a manager. Has the 52 Bowman of Casey Stengel, the old professor. And this guy's born in 1890, so here we're talking about a 62-year-old guy at this time. And that's only a couple years older than I am right now, but boy, he sure seems to look a lot older to me. He played for 14 years, and then he started managing with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1934, and he kept managing till 65, so a long managerial career. And he only had 1 year over 500 that was a non-Yankee season, and he started with the Yankees in 1949. But he went from 49 to 60 with the Yankees, and in those years, 12 years, 10 years they were in the World Series, and 7 years, including the first 5, they won the World Series. So a lot of great players. Then after they lost to the Pirates in the 60 World Series when Mazeroski hit that homer in the 7th game, he got fired, and he went to the New York Mets. And Stengel, always known for his humor, was kind of a good fit for a team that won 40 and 120 and just were perennially terrible those first few years with the Mets. So Casey Stengel. Next, we got a 1976 Topps card of Lou Brock. The reason this one makes my list, and we're going to see a few more Brocks before we're done, because he was one of my favorite players. But love all the green, kind of that color in this card, and it's his only card that shows him on the bases. He's on second base, looking like he might be ready to steal third. Got Frank Tavares playing short there in the background for the Pirates. This year, 1976, Brock is 37 years old, and he still stole 56 bases. He led the league 8 times, including that one year where he had 118, which was just 2 years before this, in steals. And he also led the league 7 times in getting caught stealing. He was a guy that, they talk about old new school baseball. He was a guy who would steal even when they were up 5-6 runs. And that was in the, mostly in the 1960s. Now, I don't know, he might be getting thrown at a bunch if he did something like that. But we'll talk more about Brock's career and some of his other cards. Next, we've got a CFL card. This is a 1963 Topps CFL card of Sandy Stevens. Stevens was a University of Minnesota quarterback, the last University of Minnesota team to win the national crown, as they were the #1 team in 1960. And then the last Minnesota team to win the Rose Bowl and even be in the Rose Bowl in 1961 is actually this January 1st, 62 Rose Bowl. And he was the quarterback. He was the first African-American quarterback ever to be a first-team All-American quarterback. In that 61 season, he finished 4th in the Heisman voting. He did not play in the NFL. It was kind of before really black quarterbacks were playing in the NFL, and he ended up playing in the CFL, where he had a real good career with both Montreal and Toronto. He was kind of one of those first in Minnesota, had a few black quarterbacks that didn't play in the NFL, or didn't play quarterback, I should say, in the NFL. Ricky Foggy, Tony Dungy later, but had some real successful careers. So Sandy Stevens played back with Carl Eller and Bobby Bell, the last real good, great, I should say, Gopher teams before I was born. Next, we've got a 1961 of Hank Aaron, and we're going to see quite a few more Aarons in this series, but I thought this was kind of a cool card just because it shows off that neat Milwaukee Braves jersey. A lot of color in that jersey. He's only 26 years old here. Shown throwing the ball, and as a 26-year-old, I mean, he's Mike Trout superstar already. You can just see every year is just phenomenal of his. That year he hit 40 homers, 120-something ribbies. Same with the year before. He had hit 355 the year before that, hit an MVP before that. I mean, every year is just phenomenal for Aaron, and he's got a lot more years to come after this. 61 I always thought was one of the more dull Topps cards, but some of them still look pretty nice with some nice color. And then last, this is number 366 on my list. This is another Hall of Famer, and this is a 1948-49 Leaf card of Joe Gordon. Initially these were classified as 48s, and I think the more research has come out, they probably weren't put out until 49. They are called 48s, yeah, because they have a copyright list of 1948 on the bottom. So they were probably going into production then, but they more likely didn't come out until the spring of 49. Like most of the Leaf cards I had, this one looks like it was played by some kids in the dirt. A lot of that color seems to be dirty. Man, on Mangini collection, and Orlando showed somebody he met at the National too, showing some old Leaf cards that I thought the color was just phenomenal on. There was no dirt on those cards, just really neat cards. But these are, just in general, I think, cool cards. These, too bad it was the only year that Leaf made cards back then. But Joe Gordon was a late induction Hall of Famer from the Veterans Committee, and a guy who I think really deserved to be there. He just had a short career, so he only played 11 years in the majors. But the first 10 of those, he was an all-star. He had an MVP year in 1942. He was one of those Yankees that, you know, he was never the Batman. Joe DiMaggio was always that when he was there. But he was, you know, a pretty good Scottie Pippen nonetheless. He, you know, you also could say guys like Bill Dickey played with him at the time that were real good, but he was kind of the end of his career. He actually got to play with Lou Gehrig at the end of Gehrig's career. Then he was traded for Allie Reynolds in 1947 to the Indians and had a few real good years there, including actually this 48 season when he hit 32 homers, 124 RBIs, 879 OPS, and this is as a second baseman. So he did, you know, one of those younger age power hitting second baseman was just a good all-around player and a great defensive player as well. So in just 11 years in the majors, he ended up with a 55.6 WAR, which is really good. And then he didn't have a bad managing career after that. So that's all we got for today. We ended with number 366. Next week, we'll either go into more of this SGC reveal. I've got a bunch more to show, or we'll keep going on this 400 series. I also want to get back into the all-time best at the positions. We've done second, short, and third so far, so first base is my next position. So we got that one coming up too, and first base is going to have some really good players. So that's it for today. We will see you again next week. Have a good week, everybody.